The House Rules Committee will come to order. Would the clerk please take attendance?
Chair Schutte. Here. Representatives Aragona.
Here.
Wenzel. Here. Martin. Here. Posthumus. DeBoer. Here. Whitwer. Here. Liberati.
Here.
Herzberg. Mr. Chair, you do have a quorum.
Thank you. Representative Liberati moves to adopt the minutes of the June 5th meeting. There being no objections, the motion prevails by unanimous consent. First, we will be taking up House Bill 4391. There is a substitute for the bill, H2, which specifies that certain sections do not apply to preliminary oral fluid tests, since the subsections are only meant to apply to lab-based chemical tests. Representative Aragona moves to adopt the H2 substitute. Would the clerk please call the roll?
On the motion to adopt the substitute, Chair Schutte.
Yes.
Representatives Aragona.
Yes.
Wenzel. Yes. Martin.
Yes.
Posthumus. DeBoer.
Yes.
Whitwer. Yes. Liberati.
Yes.
Herzberg. Mr. Chair, you have 7 yeas, 0 nays, and 0 pass. The motion does prevail.
The substitute is adopted. Representative DeBoer moves to report the bill with recommendation as substituted. Would the clerk please call the roll?
On the motion to report, Chair Schutte.
Yes.
Representatives Aragona.
Yes.
Wenzel. Yes. Martin.
Yes.
Posthumus. DeBoer.
Yes.
Whitwer. Pass. Liberati.
Pass.
Herzberg. Mr. Chair, you have 5 yeas, 0 nays, and 2 pass. With that, the motion does prevail.
The bill is reported with recommendation as substituted. Now we are taking up House Bill 4017, and there is also a substitute for this bill, H2, which specifies that the department shall forgive fines to the maximum amount allowed under federal OSHA penalty adjustment factors. Representative Aragona moves to adopt the H2 substitute. Would the clerk please call the roll?
On the motion to adopt the substitute, Chair Schutte.
Yes.
Representatives Aragona.
Yes.
Wenzel. Yes. Martin.
Yes.
Posthumus. DeBoer.
Yes.
Whitwer. Yes. Liberati.
Yes.
Herzberg. Mr. Chair, you have 7 yeas, 0 nays, and 0 pass. The motion does prevail.
The substitute is adopted. I'm going to read in a card here on House Bill 4017. In support of the bill, not wishing to speak, Joshua Scramlin from the Michigan Farm Bureau. All right, and Representative Posthumus moves to report the bill with recommendation as substituted. Would the clerk please call the roll?
On the motion to report, Chair Schutte.
Yes.
Representatives Aragona.
Yes.
Wenzel. Yes. Martin.
Yes.
Posthumus.
Yes.
DeBoer.
Yes.
Whitwer. Yes. Liberati.
Yes.
Herzberg. Mr. Chair, you have 8 yeas, 0 nays, and 0 pass. The motion does prevail.
All right, the bill is reported with recommendation as substituted. And now for the second time in the history of the House Rules Committee, the committee will go at ease at the call of the chair, and I will hand the gavel over to Vice Chair Aragona.
All right, the committee will please come to order. We are going to hear testimony from Representatives Carter and yes, Representative Carter, okay, on House bills. I don't have the House bills in front of me. Where are the numbers? There we go. 4352 and 4354. You think coming out of my committee, I'd actually know what the House bills numbers were. Representative Carter, if you can come up and please testify. Did you want to bring up others or just yourself first? Gentlemen, if you want to come on up. Back up in uniform. That's always good. And if you guys want to state your names. Because I don't think I have cards
William
for you guys.
Wolfson, Deputy Chief Executive Officer, Great Lakes Water Authority.
Walter Davis, Deputy Chief, Great Lakes Water Authority.
Barnett Jones, Chief, Great Lakes Water Authority.
Thanks, fellas. Go ahead, Representative.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. House Bills 4352 and 4354, along with House Bills 4353 and 4355, seek to provide police powers for the Great Lakes Water Authority. The Great Lakes Water Authority provides drinking water to approximately 40% of Michigan's population and provides wastewater conveyance and treatment to approximately 30% of Michigan's population as well. The GLEWA footprint is quite large, extending from Monroe County on the south to Flint and Genesee County on the north, and includes Lapeer, Macomb, Oakland, St. Clair, Washtenaw, and Wayne counties. GLEWA has full-time personnel working at the facilities in Lapeer, St. Clair, and Wayne counties with operations staff 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. They handle a significant amount of chemicals in their operations, including chlorine and hydrochlorite. Because of the dangers associated with these chemicals, and because many of the facilities border on the Canadian border, security is a key concern. Each month, GLEWA conducts between 3,000 and 7,000 security patrols to maintain security of its facilities and respond to incidents that may arise. Although GLEWA is a public body corporate and not a municipality, legislative action is required to give the necessary police powers to protect and maintain its systems. Similar powers are given to other Michigan public authorities, such as airport authorities and universities, and private entities such as hospitals and automotive manufacturers. Providing GLEWA with police powers will allow it to best maintain the security and operations of its geographically diverse facilities and will provide additional resources to support security within its service area. I will now hand it off to Mr. Wolfson, Deputy CEO, and Chief Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. William Wolfson. I want to be clear from the start that we grew out of the City of Detroit bankruptcy, so our assets are owned by the City of Detroit and leased to us in perpetuity. And so that means that previously there were police powers associated with this system. We're really looking for a restoration of that. We're a very large utility. On the water side, we serve 3.9 million people, approximately 40% of Michigan's population. And on the wastewater side, 2.8, approximately 30%. And as Representative Carter said, we have a very large footprint. We have over 115 communities that we work with regularly. I bring that up because in a prior committee hearing, we heard testimony that why wouldn't Public Act 330, the private security guard, work for us? And that's why, because those would require those 115 communities to renew annually, as well as sheriffs and other jurisdictions that would be there. So we would be basically full-time negotiating that. As a large utility, you might imagine that we receive a lot of attention, including foreign nation states, that is not positive attention. And we are very, very careful about that. And so as we look at it, we want to make sure that protecting our assets, both our vertical assets, which are the plants, and our horizontal assets, which are the pipes themselves, are protected. And that just is not a priority that we would want to take other resources from other areas to do that. And then finally, I just want to add a personal note, and this is what really struck home for me. We have a facility that borders on two communities, and we had security there, and we saw an assault going on about a block outside our fence line in the other community. Unfortunately, because we were security, we weren't able to intervene and prevent that from occurring, and that ultimately, we had to call, and it was about 10 or 15 minutes before the police were able to arrive for that. So, it was a very, very sad outcome that we would have been able to easily address if we had those police powers. And with that, I'm going to turn over to Chief Jones.
Hello, thank you for your time. I'm Chief Barnett Jones. When I took over in 2012, I quickly identified some of the negatives that I inherited. And one was the ability to do the job. As a former police chief from Ann Arbor and from Sterling Heights, when I took those jobs, I acquired the responsibility to protect those communities, to protect the police, to protect the area. I take that same skill set and I applied it to my job at GLWA. One of the things I realized very quickly is that to do this job, we have to have the ability to enforce the law. Now, there are things I can't talk about in public, but To rely on other entities to put us on a priority list is not going to work for us, and it's not going to work for you. The reality is, to do this job, police powers, to handle those investigations, to do those background checks, to do the necessary research so that we don't have the number one threat to our facility is not really external. Homeland Security has identified it as insider threat. And the insider threat needs to be handled with the police powers that you could afford us and give us so that we can make sure that all our contractors, all our vendors, all of our employees have gone through the necessary checks so that we can avoid a bad day. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Deputy Chief Walter Davis. My prior background was the Michigan State Police. I operate as the district coordinator for Homeland Security and Emergency Management for about 15 years with the Michigan State Police. Upon coming aboard of Great Lakes Water Authority, one of my first assignments was to conduct threat and vulnerability assessments of our facilities. As Chief mentioned, one of the kind of outstanding threat we noticed was possibly insider threat and ability to be able to conduct background investigation. And I'm not just background, but just immediate background of investigations of who we have on our property and operate in our facility. As you may or may not know, we have large amounts of product, chlorine, fluoride, and other products that come on our property consistently, that we have to be able to not only monitor the security of that, but we also have to be able to identify who we have on our property in the best way we can. So immediate, the time frame it takes for other entities to do that for us is time wasted and is too long. We have to have the ability to investigate and look into not only what we have on our property, but who we have on our property in order to protect our communities. As it was mentioned, we border the Canadian, we have a Canadian border, and anything that occurs in our property affects those in the Canadian jurisdictions as well. So it's extremely important that we have these tools and capabilities as a law enforcement agency to protect the Gliwa Authority as a whole, which protects our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I'm Representative Carter, but I did 25 years with, no. This is the reality, and I would appreciate everybody if they came and toured the facility to really get a ground view of what takes place. So it's in my district, the largest wastewater treatment plant, but it also borders on the city of River Rouge. So to depend on the benevolence of other departments or jurisdictions when you have an incident, what we've seen is cities right now have barely enough to cover their own situation. They have to prioritize them. This would give them the ability, number one, to run lean background checks on the people they're talking about, vendors, because it's such a huge complex that there's always things going, heating and cooling, infrastructure. They have to contract some of that out. So this would give them the opportunity and the ability from that moment on to know who's on their property, who should be on their property, and who shouldn't be.
Thank you. All right, we'll move on to questions. Prior to GLWA, you said this was born out of the Detroit bankruptcy. Prior to GLWA, this was the Detroit water system.
Correct.
So, who guarded this system prior to GLWA?
The Detroit Police Department.
Okay. So it was a police department.
Yes, it was.
In the past. Okay.
Yes.
And so, moving forward, how much of your force would be certified in this manner?
I took a look at the number of staff. We have total 83 staff. I looked at how I would do this if you were to grant us police powers. I would only need 25 positions. So 25 sworn officers who would go through the State's Police Academy and have to live up to the standards of MCOs and all the training necessary provided by MCOs. So we'd have 25 sworn police officers.
Okay, great.
And they'll pay for the training.
Correct.
No tax dollars.
Perfect. Okay. Representative Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. You answered one question I had right there with the number that would be total force compared to MCOLs. It is just a question. I know how hard recruiting is in my area. They headhunt for law enforcement officers all the time. What issues do you see in staffing 25 positions?
I believe internally I will be able to fill some of those positions internally because over the last 10 years, I've been recruiting people to come join us that have some of the backgrounds and some of the skill set necessary. This began as a vision for me, and I believe that with the great department that we have, we should be able to network and fill those positions. If not internally, we can recruit from the outside.
Great. Any further questions? I do just want to ask you, I almost feel obligated to ask you this because we are in rules. Obviously, this went from a regular reg reform committee to rules, and we are on the, we do address specifically the promulgation of rules in this committee, and this is looking at, you are going to have the ability to set forth different types of rules in what you're doing, with these bills. So you're going to have police officers. You're going to be able to establish the ability to take a look and say, all right, we're going to say, this is a rule that, certain things can happen, certain things can't happen. I'm not going to ask you, the different types of procedures. For instance, if somebody's sitting outside of a gate, this is the procedure that we go forth and use. I won't ask you that in public, but do you see any type of differences in the types of rules that you might establish from before GLWA to after, or do you foresee anything different from a normal police department to what you guys will have going forward as MCOL certified staff?
So let me take a first crack at that. First, no, we don't think there'll be special rules that are necessary, but if we were to promulgate rules, it would be a formal process with public input, and we do have a 6-member board. We have a representative appointed by the county executives of Wayne, Oakland, Macomb, 2 from the city of Detroit, and 1 who is appointed from the governor to represent the areas of the state of aren't. So 4 of them would have to agree if we were going to formally promulgate rules. And that would also be, the public would have an opportunity for input on that. And our procedures will likely not change, but we certainly will always be looking at that as the technology that we use to maintain our vertical, our lateral infrastructure changes we made. Then that's the only way that I could see us needing to promulgate rules to further protect the pipes.
Got it. Thank you. All right. Any further questions? All right. We will go at ease. Call it the chair.
The committee will come to order. Thank you, Vice Chair Argona. Appreciate you turning the gavel back over as well. And Representative Wenzel moves to excuse absent members. There being no objection, the motion prevails by unanimous consent, and there being no further business before the committee will stand adjourned.